I feel like all of the films that I love the most and that I think are timeless in the sense that 10 years later you would still say, I have to see this, you have to see this film, it's great. I think what those films have in common from my point of view is that they're not ultimately about what they're purported to be about when the film begins or when you read about the film. That is definitely what I strive for. It's by design, but it's also by definition by accident because it requires being really open to the world as you're filming and keeping your mind open about what your film is about and constantly looking for where the scene might take you. Part of the reason that I make personal films is that I find that it's artistically the most challenging genre. I think once you insert yourself as a character in the movie, it becomes a much harder movie to make well. And I find that challenging. I know that I could come up with a subject that was really hot and do a lot of interviews, and I know for sure that I could make a good film about it, whereas I'm never sure at all that I can make a good film about myself. With these personal films, I think there does have to be a balance between what is universal and what is personal. So what is going to make people initially want to go see my film is the fact that this is a relevant topic right now, which is the idea of kind of unconventional families. It's happening everywhere. Times are changing very quickly. First comes love. I really did not realize when I started the film that my relationship with my dad would be such a central part of the film, because as you see in the film, my mom was really the beacon for me, the reason I wanted to have a child. I was very close to her, I loved her, and my dad I've always had a difficult relationship with, and he was kind of off reading the New York Times while my mom was raising us, and yet when I filmed him, I realized what a compelling character he is and how interesting our relationship actually is, and how it probably does, in fact, have a lot to do with my feeling like I could raise a child on my own, because although my mom had a husband, she did do everything, as a lot of women did in that generation. And so I realized, okay, this is more relevant, but it was constantly evolving. First of all, I was very lucky and I got pregnant on the first try.
It was first try.
At 41 and a half. That's lucky, even with IVF, and which I do say in the film. And then there's a scene of a woman who's trying to get pregnant. It's her last attempt. This is towards the end of the film, and she doesn't get pregnant. But I then sit down with her and her mother, who was there to console her, and I ask her mother, when you see your daughter going through everything that we, as in women in our generation, are going through, the loneliness, the difficulty finding a husband, the difficulty getting pregnant, what do you think? And are we better off? And she thinks about it and she says, I think you're better off. I would have it the way you have it, as opposed to how I had it, getting married at 21 and having 3 kids, because you know who you are, you're more of your own person. And to me, that scene is what the whole film is about. It's sort of saying women have made progress. All of these things are really challenging that we have to face now in our generation, but we are still better off.